and let's react to, well, why is it so popular? Because I'm actually surprised that, like, well, I just reacted to another, like, uh trailer uh of like another season of classic WoW. Like nothing happened, like the first time it happens, it's actually fine, like I actually considered coming back. But when it's the 20th time that it happens, like, and it's still popular, I'm actually curious to know. Like I understand, like, a lot of arguments about it, because, like, there's like kind of like this sandbox, this, I don't know, like, it has this magic. Like, WoW is not a behemoth for no reasons, but also I would like to understand why other than that. So let's react to that.
Teenager hooked on violent computer games. He's playing them an incredible 16 hours a day.
Yep. Yeah, that's me, and it was me back in the day.
This really kicks ass, doesn't it?
For Greg Straff, playing World of Warcraft has become an obsession.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft. We were looking like such fucking demons. We were demonized by the fucking media back in the day. And now look at us. We're the cool kids now. We are the cool kids now. You're telling me that, like, we actually made it, like, the fucking, like let's just like, just look at this dude. This dude is like like average person, just like enjoying video games, but basically we actually made it, and we actually, like, became popular. What do you mean we became popular? Like, and now we stream on Twitch, and we make bucks, and we make bank on the same fucking games that, like, well, let's re-listen to it. We were described as gamer as this.
Teenager hooked on violent computer games. He's playing them an incredible 16 hours a day.
This really kicks ass, doesn't it?
For Greg Straff, playing World of Warcraft has become an obsession.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
Whatever I want.
And what is it about World of Warcraft that's so special for you guys?
It's the best game there is.
In 2004, Blizzard released World of Warcraft. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. It took less than a year for World of Warcraft's impact on gaming as a whole to be evident. By the end of 2005, the game was already at 5.5 million subscribers, increasing to
9 million players in the World of Warcraft.
only 2 years later.
It's huge.
For context, EverQuest, the previous king of the genre, peaked at around 500,000 active subscribers, according to this book that Wikipedia cited, but I can't find an online copy of.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like 10 million players. Like, can you understand? Like, some small countries, some small lost countries, right, do not have 10 million, like, inhabitants. So yeah, let me just check out real quick. Mm, how many players there is in WoW right now? Like, there is, like, a IGN. Okay, so IGN actually, what's the date of this? 2024. So after, yeah, so in between, like, 4 million and 7 million. Can you believe that? Like, it's actually, like, when we came back quite hard, huh?
As subscriber counts kept going up, the game kept changing to make sure everything stayed fresh. The first expansion, The Burning Crusade, finally let players fly around the map. Mists of Pandaria introduced the brand new Panda race, which to this day
Is fucking hated by everyone. This is what I call a fucking, like, bad move, like you said. People did not understood, like, like, there was, like, conspiracy that like it was to actually support like try to make sales in China because like the game is I think that like like it got like banned or like in China and unbanned, but like basically like but people hated Panorans, but Panorans were actually existed back in Warcraft because like Panorans actually existed back in Warcraft, so it wasn't like it was like lore wise actually like legit, but yeah.
Is played by no one. Battle for Azeroth
Yeah.
happened. World of Warcraft is still at the top of the MMO genre, but for many players, all of these changes made the game feel less like World of Warcraft. This left them yearning for a simpler time, a time more like 2004.
The problem is basically um that well, for players like me right now, it is over content. Like for players like me, it's actually quite fun, especially since well allows me to explore and do a lot of like I'll basically like there's a lot of things to do. But like for the average player, World of Warcraft is so rich, and this is a paradox. So this is kind of this reversed logic where like having a game too rich in content can be a problem because well, if you actually stumble upon this video or you actually stumble upon my stream or stumble upon a stream in general, because like even Twitch is like quite new, right? If you think about it, like it is not, but it is. But if you think about like the average player, the average gamer, right? This is the term that like will allow me to explain this easily. The average player is not a fucking a fucking degenerate like us that is able to even like fandom understand how much information they are presented with, so they get like overloaded, like it's overloaded with information, and they tell you fuck that, I go back to League of Legends because League of Legends it's easy enough, and or Valorant, or basically, or like story-driven games, but like basically it's like, or your classic Final Fantasy where you are still like you have like a lot of freedom, but not too much, and you have not like too many things to do. At least like this is my opinion about like classic WoW, uh, and why it is like so popular, just because like well, classic WoW like still stands as well, a single player game technically. Well, we can say this, right, as a single player game that after all this time, just like Final Fantasy 7, just like just like Halo, right? It still stands to this day. You can still play the game and it is still that good. But these days, yeah, too many things to do, and well, a lot of players kind of tend to forget, and it's the same with like Final Fantasy, Path of Exile, like type of like players. They tend to forget like the innocent player that they were when they started playing the game. They like this is the average player. If you think that like everyone is into fucking like mythic plus rating, mythic plus rating and fucking arena PvP, while or like completionism or whatever, or success like achievement hunting, like you're wrong. You got like you just got like that's lie. The average player is just like random like is basically the classic WoW player.
Actually, you know what? maybe a time exactly like 2004. Why don't we just go back to 2004? So finally, on August 26th, 2019, World of Warcraft Classic was released. And it came with one very simple but very important promise. No matter what, there will be no changes. And 5 years later, those servers are still there. No changes, almost exactly as they were at the end of vanilla almost 2 decades ago. So why the hell are people still playing this game?
Yes, and this is so. Actually, my question is, after the classic WoW fever got over, right? Why is this still popular? Like, well, technically, it's the question that he answers, right? But my question is, why is this still popular? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe, but like, maybe you'll answer to that. But like, why is this still popular to the point like where they release more servers and it still goes on? Like, because the fever is over and basically now it's the same game. New players, I guess. But I don't know. Like, maybe I'm stupid for saying that. I'm an idiot, so don't mind me.
World of Warcraft Classic is weird. And don't think you're safe either, little guy. Did you know neither of these two knew about today's sponsor, AG1? I played a lot of World of Warcraft for this video, which means my diet has been less than ideal. And you know what that means? I died. But today's sponsor, AG1, can stop you from being as unhealthy as I am. Since my miraculous reincarnation, I've started every morning with AG1. All it takes is 1 scoop a day to start getting the benefits. AG1 has all the daily nutrients you need to fill the gaps you might have in your diet, but anyone who knows me knows I really care about one thing, and that's my bowels. Luckily, AG1 contains prebiotics and probiotics. This helps your body do a better job of breaking down food, and it helps keep your poops regular, so hopefully you stop clogging the toilet so much. Why do you keep doing that? You need AG1 right away. If you want to start having more regular poops like me, or just want to feel healthier at all, scan the QR code on the screen right now and save $20 off your first order. Thanks, AG1. I bet you even helped me grow my legs back. MMORPGs as a genre are defined by games that are constantly changing and evolving and literally expanding. Even if you compare it to its closest counterpart, Old School RuneScape, it's a little weird. Old School RuneScape was released in 2013 as a re-release of how RuneScape was in 2007. And as you can see from its player count, things were going pretty well. I mean, in its first month, it was gaining players. Let's just zoom out a little. But over the next 2 years, Old School RuneScape would start to get some brand new content, like new bosses and new quests. This slowly but surely led to more people coming back to and trying out the game, as a lot started to change with it. Today though, Old School RuneScape is one of the biggest MMORPGs on the market, and it's also completely different than it was 11 years ago when it released.
Can you believe that like this sells to this day? Like, like, to me, like, this is quite absurd that like it must be this good, but like I cannot. Like, my limit is Warcraft 3. All right, this is the limit. I cannot, like, not much more.
Compare that to World of Warcraft Classic, and let me just take a look in here real quick. Yep, no changes. Everything you see around you in this game has been here since 2007 at the latest. This stump, been here the whole time. This lake, been here the whole time. This bed, been laying here the whole time. This rotten meat that should never be served to customers and has been in clear violation of the City of Philadelphia's Food Regulation Code, Section 46, subsection 281, that states that all food must be wrapped in containers or packaged as to prevent cross-contamination. It has been here the whole time. So why, despite that everything is exactly the same as it always has been, are there still so many people here? The original Classic servers that came out in 2019 still have a really solid amount of players on them. It's what I've played for the past year. And when fresh Classic servers came out just recently, people flocked to them and started buzzing through the starting areas like nematodes, taking all my mob spawns. Guys, don't you know I'm a YouTuber? You're supposed to leave those to me! Well, as someone with absolutely no nostalgia for this game, I think I can tell you why it's still so popular. It's a really fucking good game.
basically, like I don't know what to say. Like this is my only argument, like as well, because like I don't see anything else that actually like legitimize the fact that I just reacted like like less than fucking 20 minutes ago to another like relaunch, the 25th relaunch of another row. So basically it functions like this, right? New classic server, fresh, with the expansions. So the not the expansions, but like the updates that release over time, right? So you get like Molten Core, then Black Wind Layer, and Extramus, right? But like when you and it just keeps going. But I just don't understand it, except like is this good? But like you know, like as a video game critic, like technically like not the greatest one, right? Like I don't fucking get sponsored by IGN or like, but but it is quite funny to just be like, so the argument it is this good. You try to because like overall the game is good, but like when the argument is like, yeah, no, it is just because it's good that it sells, you know, like, and you cannot really like pinpoint like describe like certain points like rating. Yeah, it's good, but like conclusion, yeah, it's good.
Seriously though, WoW Classic is a special kind of MMORPG. The progression
But now that I think of it, like it has this like emotional like drag to it that I think that like exists and actually like is something that is I think that like there is like this emotional thing about WoW that people get to discover through classic WoW, and it is only through like I think that like now it is quite more difficult to experience it through modern WoW because of just how overloaded and bloated the game is when it comes to content. Too much content disallows for this type of it's kind of like solo adventure, and that is not like where it's simple enough, but it is. But some being simple is does not mean being like being um being simplistic, I guess, right? I don't know. I guess it's the emotional thing as well, but like yeah, it is just good. That's the argument. Uh,
of the game, whether it be just questing or getting gear upgrades or leveling up, hits like crack in a way that so few games manage to do. And as you're journeying through the world and see players in their endgame gear, you start to realize what the longer term goals are for you, and they keep you motivated through some of the low points in the game. But that's not really what I think sets this game apart even to this day. It's something much more fundamental. WoW Classic has something that not a lot of other MMORPGs have. The fact that it's an RPG. Okay, I know it's become really cliche to say that MMORPGs don't feel like RPGs anymore, but whenever I play World of Warcraft Classic, I get the same feeling I got as a kid playing games like Skyrim, or Knights of the Old Republic, or Putt-Putt Travels Through Time. I know Putt-Putt Travels Through Time isn't an RPG, but it's really good, and they need to make more of them. There's a lot in this game that lends itself to feeling like an RPG, but the number one aspect to me is the At its absolute core, the WoW Classic experience.
The adventure of a lifetime. Yeah, you always will remember it, and like yes, you will remember your journey. Like you will remember like your first character. You will remember like there's like how memorable it is as well. Yeah, I guess it is true.
Experience is about one thing. Going from level 1 to level 60. That journey will take the average player at least a month, probably more like 2 or 3, depending on how much time you have to play and how efficient you are playing. In a lot of more modern MMORPGs, that's kind of unthinkable. If you look at the modern version of World of Warcraft, which I'll call Retail World of Warcraft, the leveling process is just this little gross thing you have to get to before you can get to the actual game. And Blizzard knows that the leveling in Retail WoW sucks, so it really takes only 2 or 3 days tops to go from level 1 to the max level of 80. And speedrunners have even discovered a strategy to go from level 10 to 80 in 2 seconds using a strategy called
Credit card.
money, where you just buy a level boost to skip leveling. The reality is for retail,
I think that like when it comes to retail WoW, I think that like it's actually one of the problems and one of the reasons well I actually talked about it during the stream, where I think that you should allow this should add the option to level max all enemies in other zones, so you get like kind of like the MMO thrill, right? Of like not just like going through like the journey of a lifetime through the older expansions, but also like the fact that like it is, I actually disagree, but like leveling is well, people should have the choice between like starting level 1 and actually getting like this 1 month experience of leveling up, or getting to level like 60 or 70 and leveling 10 levels to get to the end game. And I think that like this is kind of like the mistake that they make, because like back in the day, heritage armor, like during Wrath of the Lich King, leveling up was still a process that took months, like a month. It still took a long time, right? And basically, now like like basically this, for example, some small things that were like really cool were like heritage armor, and that like makes your experience like go faster. But it was worth it and it was interesting because, well, because it was like actually a grind and took a long time. So I don't know. It is like I think that like it is I don't agree with him when it comes to leveling. I had a fun time, and they should leave the choice to the player. Like actually just like leave the choice of in between, like, well, the fast grind or the 1 month grind that makes classic WoW so popular. I don't know, maybe.
Retail WoW and so many other MMOs like it, the game starts at max level. In WoW Classic, the game starts when you log in. It's a crazy idea, but hey, it works. And what makes this leveling journey work is that the entire thing is built like an adventure. When you finish character creation, you'll be shown an intro cinematic based on whatever race you picked. If you picked a human, you'll see the city of Stormwind and hear the most amazing music you've ever heard in your life. If you picked a night elf, you'll see the mystical woods of Teldrassil. If you made an undead character, go to therapy. During these intro cinematics, a narrator will give you a brief overview of the race and their current position in the lore of the world, but what really hammers it home is how they describe your place in the world.
It is your sworn duty to defend Darnassus and the wild children of nature against the Legion's encroaching corruption.
The best part of these calls to action that end every cinematic is how small scale they are. You're not the chosen one. You're not the only person who can save the world.
And this is something that actually like in the war within like I don't know where, like they actually went back to, you are not the chosen one anymore as well, at least like in my opinion. Well, like well, with like the artifact weapons and all the stuff, you became the chosen one for like a couple of expansions, right? But then now you're back at you're not in retail WoW, in modern WoW. At least like I feel like it. Like you're still, but you became powerful, but you're not technically special. Like you're not like the chosen one anymore, I guess. When lore wise, power wise, it's different.
You're one part of a whole. one of the many humans who will protect Stormwind, one of the many undead who will help Sylvanas accomplish her goal of getting revenge on Arthas, one of the many gnomes who's just a silly little guy.
My, you're a tall one.
Yes, I am. This is a trope you'll see sometimes in RPGs. In Oblivion, for example, you aren't the chosen one, you're just there to help Martin Septon, the Emperor, do what he needs to do to save the world. You aren't the hero, you're a hero. This storytelling technique works so well in an MMORPG where you'll be working not just alongside hundreds of NPCs, but literally thousands of players who are just like you. And in the first minutes of creating a character, this game has already given story motivation on a scale that is both super easy to understand, but also leaves things open for you to carve your own path forward. Or at least that's how I felt when I first played it. Most people probably just skipped the intro cinematics. But even if you don't,
yeah, and this is like the important part. Where it's like it has to be easy at this point. Like a lot of video games try to fucking like sell you, like basically sell you so much content, and you forget because well, technically everyone forgets, but like I guess like gamers end up in this bubble themselves, right? But like they forget that like they are like the average player is a noob, is a newbie, and not a fucking like a fucking degen tryhard that doesn't that spends 8 hours per day playing the game. And this is true for like many games, you know.
Don't care about the story at all. The way the story is woven into the gameplay means you'll have an unbelievably smooth experience no matter what. But I'm not gonna make you sit through my retelling of one of these stories in its entirety. The Defias are a gang of bandits that have been terrorizing the human capital of Stormwind for years, and one of the first quests you'll ever receive on a fresh human character involves killing some of them since they took over a vineyard and started eating all the grapes, I assume. I don't know why else you'd take over a vineyard. As you progress throughout the first human zone, you'll start to see more and more of them as you just do quests you find around the map. Quests like stealing their red burlap bandanas, or stealing their red linen bandanas, or stealing their red silk bandana. I mean, Jesus, guys, could we not have come up with something different? Eventually, these quests lead you to the next zone, Westfall, where you'll slowly but surely start uncovering the truth of who these bandits are and the full extent of their operation. You're sent across all the zones that surround Stormwind until you find out that the Defias Brotherhood are formerly members of the Stonemasons Guild, the people who rebuilt Stormwind after the Second War. They were never paid by the nobles for their work and eventually turned to crime and terrorism to get their revenge. People like to say that means they did nothing wrong, but I mean, they did do terrorism. The storyline culminates in you and a group going into the first dungeon most Alliance players ever go to in their adventures, the Dead Mines. This dungeon fucking rocks, dude. Even to this day, veteran players still yearn for the mines. This dungeon is where the leader of the Defias, Edwin Van Cleef, has been holed up as he oversees the construction of a massive warship that will be used to exact his revenge once and for all, and it's up to you and your group to stop him. This story is not only one of the better small-scale storylines in any MMORPG, it's also just a great gameplay experience. You'll start pulling back the layers by questing in a way that feels natural. The Defias story quests chain together seamlessly across multiple zones, giving you the ability to see what those new areas have to offer, while
And this is like also the important part, and this is something that I, as a content creator and streamer, actually, well, revisit and take the time to do, but people actually reading the quests. That's actually the fucking stupid thing that people do not fucking do in modern WoW, because everything is so cramped and so overloaded and so fast, right? But actually the quality of the quest is actually really fucking good, right? But it's just that like basically the gaming experience that they offer you do not like suggest, like do not motivate you to actually take the time to read this quest, to do this lore, and to end up like this guy, like this guy Ideal, right? By the way, subscribe, leave a like, right, to this guy. Really fucking good content. Basically telling you about, basically saying, discovered about the fucking like, how is it called? Fuck. The Defias, how is it called? Fuck. Wait. I forgot the fucking name, but like, the Brotherhood.
also showing you just how big the world is, and it all comes together to have you go into what is more than likely the first dungeon on your character. For new players, this whole questline is a cleverly designed tutorial that will help you find your footing.
The Defiance Brotherhood, like well, basically, yeah. But and also like how how like the zones grow in danger. Like you go from like the Defiance Brotherhood. Well, I need to. Yeah, Defiance Brotherhood. That's you go from that to let's say the well, how it's called, east, like the Plague Lands. And as a player, like this is something really impressive, because you go from, well, well, just like some bandits that are like stealing and like hunting wolves to plague the lands, basically as the zombie world that was lost and that cannot be recovered anymore.
In the world. And for veteran players, it's an efficient and smooth gameplay experience that, frankly, I've looked forward to on every character I've ever made. No matter how you choose to play, whether you're story focused or just here to grind XP, this storyline will be an important part of the early levels for your character. By the time you're wrapped up with the dead mines on your character, you'll probably be around level 20, or 1/30th of the way to level 60 if you're bad at math. It's not a short amount of time for your character, but the rewards and the payoff will genuinely feel worth it, and the time investment is a big part of that dopamine hit you're gonna get. At the end of the questline, you'll get what might just be your first rare item, and it's a great feeling, and it's also really useful.
This is so
There's
true.
examples of these long world-spanning quests all over World of Warcraft Classic. One of my favorite as a paladin main is the quest to get Varrigan's Fist, an extremely powerful mace for its level. The quest takes a really long time and has you go all across the world to see some really amazing parts of it that you might not otherwise go see, and the reward makes it all justified.
Yeah, another thing that, like, well, now the balance is too complicated because you became technically lore-wise or even like gameplay-wise too powerful, is the fact that, like, it's a stupid thing, but the fact that you need to regen. In Classic WoW, you need to regen a lot. It slows the pace, it makes it for another adventure, where if you have to regen, if you have to take the time to rest in between the fights, if you have to take the time to travel in between, and if you travel not too fast, because like flying is a good thing. Flying disconnects you from a lot of like gameplay, and it's basically in Classic WoW you do not get flying, and because of that, if you want, like, you have to like, flying and teleportation are like luxuries that you do not have often. And if you and it makes your decision, the decision you actually make during your game, like during your gameplay, actually matter way more, because now it's like, well, I can teleport like basically at 60 places at once, and and each time you want to go somewhere, it will be like I'll be there in a minute, right? But back in the day, you want to do Zul'Farrak, right? Zul'Farrak, or uh, how is it called? Like basically like Skullman's, right? Well, you start at Stormwood, and you spam on the channel searching people, that you search people to do Skullman's, and then everyone that you find is also in Stormwind, right? And then you have to fucking go to fucking Skullman's, and this is like a process that takes 30 minutes. But like, because it is an MMO, well, it is actually quite also this is also the the good part of it. So basically, like this is also the the good part of the gameplay, I'd say. The social aspect, the fact that like you have to spend like 30 minutes with people, uh you ended up like talking with them, because like now dungeons, you don't even get to type to talk to people, because there's a timer, right? But back in the day, it was not like that. You need to take 30 minutes just to get there. So maybe there will be like someone saying jokes, and maybe there will be someone like and basically you have to socialize what's going on, and you ended up making a lot of friends like this, because you end up like finishing like Skullmans, or like or I don't know, well, Zulfarak, or like, well, the dead mines, right? And you're like, well, let's do it again next time, and you have them in your friend list now. And this process actually does not exist as much anymore. It does, but it doesn't as much.
A really great YouTuber, appropriately named Vyrah, has a whole video on this quest. I highly recommend it. I've linked it in the description. In the grand scheme of the journey to 60, though, the story that defies brotherhood and Edwin Van Cleef makes up only a small fraction of it. The world is only going to get bigger, and the grinds are only going to take longer, because World of Warcraft Classic is a slow game. I mean, it's like a really slow game.
Exactly. So this is what I was talking about, the moments in between where you just enjoy the scenery, enjoy the environment, and enjoy the fact that like it's quite realistic compared to real life, where like well, you get to enjoy like the ride, right? You get to enjoy the ride. That's what's missing. Where now it's like so fast, modern, like so fucking fast to say.
MMORPGs, and all games really, want to avoid making you bored at all costs. What this leads to in a lot of modern MMORPGs is the game constantly moving at a breakneck pace, never giving you a moment to breathe, or making it feel like any time you spend not gaining XP or killing a boss is a moment wasted. But WoW Classic just doesn't care about that.
Yeah, for example, you want to go between Ironforge and Stormwind, you can take the Griffin. You can take the Griffin, yeah. That's true. But like, you can also take the fucking like railway, right? The metro, basically like the deep run tram, the tram in between, and it is faster. It is actually faster. And do you know what you can do as well? If you, well, you can see here, like if you choose to jump here, well, you have to fucking walk or wait an hour, because your Hearthstone does not, well, is on cooldown. And these little things, well, basically, like, it shows exactly what I'm talking about. Well, like, you're with like someone and you're just waiting, and basically you get the time to talk and chill and just like have a good time with them, and just talking, like, just like enjoying some like good content, you know?
I mean, yeah, the leveling from 1 to 60, like I've already mentioned, can take you a couple of months. That's pretty slow, but that's not even what I mean when I say this is a slow game. Throughout the world, there are these moments where you have no choice but to just sit and wait. If you want to take the boat from Menethil Harbor to Darkshore on the other side of the planet, you have to just sit at the dock until the boat arrives. And then you get on the boat, and then you wait for the boat to leave, and then you wait for the boat to go across the world and reach the other dock, and then you can leave and go do what you're going to do. It's the same if you want to take the train from Stormwind to Ironforge. You still have to wait for the tram to get there, and then you have to wait for it to go through the whole underground tunnel until you get to Ironforge.
And technically, it's useless content, you know? Like, it is technically useless content, but it is faster than the Griffin. And now that I think of it, in your first playthrough, well, if you do not have the Griffin to Stormwind or Ironforge, well, there's only the fucking train that you can take to get there. And this is really such a cool experience, you know?
If you want to fly from Ratchet to Astronar, you have to take this absolute bonkers path. I mean, what are we doing here? How is the straight line? Have we heard of straight lines? Seriously, this flight path takes like 15 real world minutes. You'd be forgiven for hearing all this and saying, wow, that sure sucks. But in reality, it really doesn't.
Yeah, because like what he says, I'll translate this to what will actually like make you actually like make you fucking understand how paradoxical it is, almost of a paradox it is. Imagine your modern game with a 15-minute loading screen. But that moves, that like it shows like content, right? It shows like images or stuff. 15 minutes. Like 15 minutes of load screen. People will tell you, have you lost your fucking mind? Like, are you crazy? But this is enjoyable.
All of these moments set the tone for the game in a really special way. When you and a few other people are all waiting for the boat together, you have nothing else to do, so you might as well talk to each other. Maybe you can even play the penis game, but I will warn you, I always win. I'm almost 30. Even if you're taking the boat alone, the downtime forces you to slow down, to be a little inefficient, in a time where every MMO player seems to want to min-max. It creates a culture in the game where players become comfortable taking a minute or two in other parts of their adventure. Maybe that time is spent helping another player do a quest you've already done, or going to harvest some resources for your guild, or starting a beef-based cult in the capital city of Stormwind. That really happened, I'm not even making that up. People talk all the time about wanting MMOs to be social again, and they debate how to do that. Do you force people to group up for content and remove soloing as an option altogether?
No, you actually slow the pace. Slow the pace and force a slower pace where with downtimes. This is how you do it, and this is why classic WoW is successful at being social, a social game, because it has a slow pace and downtimes.
Do you create quests that require you and a partner to be on separate gangs? In my experience, those forced socializing moments are usually more frustrating than engaging. But in WoW Classic, it's natural. Socializing is almost never the optimal thing to do, so when the pace is slowed down in so many other ways, you're given a license to do something suboptimal, like attending a sex party at the Goldshire Inn. I've never had a dungeon in World of Warcraft Classic where my team isn't talking to each other. Sometimes that talking can be toxic, but 99% of the time we're joking around or planning how to take on a fight. Because of the very simple fact that to form a dungeon group we're forced to message one another and travel to the dungeon from wherever we are on the map,
Wow.
It never feels like there's too much of a rush where we can't take a second to type to each other. And for me, this has made doing dungeons my favorite part of World of Warcraft Classic. I've met
Exactly, and this is why like Mythic Plus is actually like such a fucking good but awful experience. Like there is like so basically Mythic Plus are the dungeons in modern WoW, and the problem is like the timer here is to keep on going, like to keep like the thing challenging, and to keep it difficult, to keep it like to not make it boring, right? But at the same time, it takes away all the social aspect, and it is difficult to actually like find the social aspect because you don't have the time. But in it, like dungeons with like random players, when you have the time, and you don't in Mythic Plus, you don't get the chance to wipe, so basically lose, right? If you die once, the group disbands and people are like, I give up, right? Here, like in the classic WoW, there is like many like people like in a dungeon that like basically they struggled until the end of the dungeon for 2 or 3 hours, and they fucking made it, right? And they never and you never forget about it, you know. And it's basically what it is.
Met friends from it in the short time I've played. It's been a truly social experience. Contrast that to modern World of Warcraft, where the dungeon finder tool will not only group up for you, but will instantly teleport you to the dungeon. It is great that I can do dungeons on demand as fast as I want and then get teleported back to my original grind, but it also means that you always feel like you're moving at a breakneck pace. In almost every dungeon I've done in retail World of Warcraft, me and my teammates haven't said a word to each other, and when we do, it's usually for something stupid like, oh, I fucked up healing again, but I don't ever make mistakes. Except when I'm healing. I make kind of a lot of mistakes when I'm healing. People die all the time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that what retail World of Warcraft does is strictly worse. What retail World of Warcraft does is strictly worse. With WoW Classic, there's something that just feels right about having to actually walk to the physical location in the world of these dungeons. Walking to Shadowfang Keep and seeing the abandoned, decrepit village that sits right next to it as you play scenarios in your mind of what happened here, and it adds so much context to when you actually go into the dungeon itself. And the journey to the dungeon forces you to explore locations you might otherwise have totally missed.
And it makes meeting the other players as well like something really magical, because you get to see who is the person that you will play with, and sometimes you get surprises that like you got lucky about a job, or like in classic WoW, for example, like having an epic, like seeing someone like, let's say, like level 40 or 50 with an epic item is actually something unbelievable. Like you feel like or and this is like something that is really like unlike any other game.
And it's those moments where you'll stray off the path you thought you had set out for yourself, and straying off the path is when you discovered that there's a world. I said at the beginning of the video that World of Warcraft Classic makes me feel the same way I do when I play a game like Skyrim. Obviously, these are two extremely different games, but what unites them is the fact that I never get tired of exploring these worlds, despite the fact that I've spent well over 2,000 hours in each. Oh boy. Remember the Defias Brotherhood storyline from earlier? Well, that takes place roughly here. The rest of the world is here. And then the rest of the world is here. It's a lot of world to explore. This world is massive, something that it shares in common with Skyrim and other RPGs of the same archetype. But the world's not just big physically. Every gameplay system is built to make the world feel even bigger than it is. Jeff Kaplan, the original lead designer on World of Warcraft, said this about the design of raids back in 2005.
The world feels a lot bigger for everyone if there's unbeaten content out there. Even if you're the guy who's like level 30 doing a Wrathy Highlands quest, but you know that the resident Uber guild of your server is, trying to kill Nefarian, it creates an epic feel for the whole world.
And WoW Classic does a great
Wow, this is actually quite a great quote, and this is quite fascinating.
Job of showcasing this world to you. When you take those
trying to kill quest, but there a lot.
I've said this about the design of raids back in Jeff Kaplan, the original.
I'll just keep his name. I'll just write his name real quick, because like this is maybe.
Original lead designer on World of Warcraft said this about the design of raids back in 2005.
The world feels a lot bigger for like of your servers.
And WoW Classic does a great job of showcasing this world to you. When you take those ridiculously inefficient flight paths, you're getting taken on a tour of places around the world the developers want you to see. Maybe it's flying past Blackrock Mountain, an endgame area on your fresh character, or it's just flying low to the ground through Elwyn Forest, seeing all of the other people questing in the area. These flight paths take a long time, but help to cement the feeling that you're in a large world. It's something that fast travel systems and easy teleportation take away from. But making a
Yeah, and actually, when it comes to like solo, like single player story driven games, an advice that I actually like discovered and actually agree with is if you play single player story driven game, never use fast travel. Never. If you actually allow yourself, if you actually uh well control yourself and do not allow like just like forbid yourself from using fast travel in story driven solo games, you will discover an experience that is really different and really better, like complete, like overall better. uh but you have to do the effort of forbid yourself to, because I won't say like even once breaks the magic, right? But you like there's like a no turning point to it, that is actually like once you've like fast traveled too many times, it takes away like some of the magic that you will have gotten of your solo like story driven game, let's say Skyrim or The Witcher or Final Fantasy, right? uh it takes like it is gone once you fast travel too much. Like if you don't fast travel, you'll get a better experience in any story game, any single player game. Like don't do it. It is much more fun to actually like go through it without it. Pretend it doesn't exist. Pretend you don't have pretend you cannot do it. So yeah.
Massive world is pretty easy. I mean, Ubisoft's been doing it for years now, and they're the worst. Am I right, gamers? Make sure to like and subscribe. Making a massive world that's worth exploring, though, that's hard. There needs to be substance under the surface. Parts of the game that make the player stop to think, even if it's just for a second. What I'm referring to is something called environmental storytelling. For example, when you walk into the undead capital city that sits in the ruins of Lordaeron, formerly one of the major human cities, you'll hear the cheers of civilians echoing through the halls, rose petals scattered on the ground leading to the throne room. It's a haunting moment that makes you pause and wonder what celebration was happening here, and how did it go from that to this? Fans of the Warcraft franchise will know exactly what happened in this throne room. For them, it's a callback to one of the most important moments in Warcraft's history. But for those new to the universe, it's a mystery that they'll have to explore the world to learn more about. The Undercity is a place that every single Horde player will go to at some point in their adventure, though, and it's easy to sprinkle lore across these heavily trafficked zones. But the special sauce in World of Warcraft is those areas that players might not go to, the areas that might have one or two standalone quests, or even no quests at all. If the rest of the world, beyond the hotspots, is barren of anything interesting, it's not going to feel like a world anymore. But in WoW Classic, it feels like every corner of the map has something hidden that is waiting to be found. When I was level 30 collecting herbs around Duskwood, a level 20 to 30 zone, I got myself a little sidetracked when I found a path scaling a mountain. I decided to keep following this path even though it wasn't on my herb gathering route. There are no quest markers in this big unexplored area of the map, so it couldn't be that important, but I still wanted to keep going, if only to finish filling out the map. And what I found when I got to the center of it was a fucking dragon? A skull level dragon? Like a dragon that could kill me in one shot? Huh? What's this little guy doing here?
And basically like well, let me just say, and basically like this is the type of content that no one did as well. It was like really rare for people to do it. Like, but it dropped unique like a unique quest, like and unique epic items, like which is actually really quite worthy, even a pattern, right? So it is actually worth it, right? No one did it. It was like kind of this, like the few that did know how great it was, you know?
And there's a portal that I would have explored closer, but you know, the fucking dragon and all that. I sat here just staring at the dragon for a solid 2 minutes, just wondering what the hell he's doing here. It was a discovery that made the world feel real to me. Believe me when I tell you that the world is full of this kind of stuff. Sometimes it's on a smaller scale, like randomly encountering Rexar in Desolus, a place that makes me sad, but it was still cool to see the guy from that one Hearthstone game I played wandering around. And other times it's on a way larger scale, like wandering the Swamp of Sorrows and coming across this massive temple sitting in one of the few open areas in the zone. This temple, for example, is the exterior of the dungeon Temple of Atal Hakar. Everyone just calls it Sunken Temple because it's a temple, and it's, well... These little pieces of flavor make this really massive world feel full and alive, like your character is actually part of something bigger.
But this is also the limit, where for like the average player, this is right enough, right? It's good enough, but Modern WoW, it is... well, this content still exists, but it is too fast, and there is so much more that is just overlapping, that is just on top of it, that is just like with it, that makes it these moments really difficult to have unless you actively as a player force yourself to get them by slowing the pace, by not like by just like in like by having a certain player behavior, and this behavior, well, basically you cannot think always that like the average player is here for an adventure. He's not here to fucking like tell him, like give itself to him, or else you know what he will do? He will fucking like create it itself, you know, like.
This is a feeling that games like Skyrim nail, in my opinion, and it's the reason I find it so easy to come back to these worlds, even though I feel like I know everything about them.
Yeah, and the idea of losing yourself in the game is easy to do in Classic WoW, and it is difficult to do in Modern WoW unless you actively do effort to allow yourself to lose yourself in the game. So this does not happen, because this is why like Modern WoW is so different, because the average player cannot fucking do not have like this degenerate education about video games, being a hardcore gamer and all this nonsense.
It might seem like I'm overselling this aspect of an MMO. I mean, we're basically talking about set dressing right now. But when I asked people a few weeks ago what was important to them in a new MMORPG, so many people said they wanted that feeling of adventure, like they were discovering a world again. WoW Classic has that. Even for veteran players that I meet while grouping up for content, they still tell me they find new things out all the time. I'll agree completely that it is not the most important thing for a game to have all of this stuff that WoW Classic nails, but it's the exact thing that's given it the staying power it's had. It's why people keep coming back, even though they have been here so many times before, despite the fact that it has a ton of jank. And boy, does it have a lot of jank. Things like the graphics are clearly dated, with tree branches just being pixelated 2D textures that don't hold up to any sort of scrutiny up close. Or even with gameplay, where people can take quest objectives from you and you just have to wait for that quest objective to respawn, sometimes for like 5 to 10 minutes. That's a little crazy. That's like, we weren't really thinking on that one, were we, Blizzard? I mean, come on. Or look at this basilisk. Whoa, where's he going? He's got somewhere to be. That's not really jank. I just thought that was funny. Even the game's players show their age. Like, most of them are boomers or can't let go of a meme. Like, how are we still doing Hawk Tuah, guys? It's been months.
There's also like what it does like there's a lot of saying well like compared to the overall like content that you get for the game, which is basically like it's $10. Like Classic WoW is like it's $10. It's $10 the game, $10. Well, for the price, like the amount of content that you get for the jank you get, the ratio is good enough. The ratio is amazingly good.
Jank and signs of age are everywhere in the game, and while I do find a lot of it charming, there are parts that are genuinely bad. For example, the class balance in WoW Classic is genuinely horrible. If you're not playing a warrior, you're playing the wrong class. I main a paladin, and I would love nothing more than to do raids as a DPS paladin, but no one is even going to touch me with a 10-foot pole if I tell them I'm trying to do that. But altogether, the jank and dated aspects of this game are all part of the charm. Parts that maybe do slow you down a little bit, but like I said,
I was a DPS paladin back in the day, back in Zul'Gurub, and yeah, it fucking happened. Like people were like different back in the day, but it can happen also in classic. But yeah, min-maxing is a culture that is really like toxic, but the classic kind of like is able to push away, make disappear a little bit, you know?
that's part of the world. World of Warcraft Classic is, at the end of the day, an old, slow game, but it is genuinely a fun game. It's a fun RPG. I know it might seem weird that I've hardly talked about how good the combat in this game is or how strong the class fantasy is, but to me, that's all stuff that other MMOs have been able to catch up with in the history of the genre. What none of these other games have been able to match is the world and the story and just the way it all feels so cohesive with the gameplay. World of Warcraft was a special game when it came out in 2004. There's a reason it took the world by storm and why so many people subscribed immediately. And to this day, it has retained everything that made it special and everything that made it a good game, even with its age. Even if World of Warcraft Classic continues to never get any changes, I think it's a game that people will keep coming back to for the next 5, 10, 15, even 20 years. Maybe even 30 years. Maybe 50 years.
For your support.
People are saying 100.
Hey, you're a patron.
I could see 150.
I like you
200
very
I can
much
push.
because, hey,
I can see that
you're
too.
a patron.
250?
Patreon is where you're at. You went to the URL in the description and you gave me your money, and that's pretty neat. Hey, you're a patron. Thank you so much for your support. Hey, you're a patron. I like you very much because, hey, you're a patron. Patreon is where you're at. You went to the URL in the description and you gave me your money, and that's pretty neat.
This was a great fucking video. Thank you, Ideal, for like don't forget to leave a like and like subscribe to Ideal, like if you actually like this type of content. He made like good separate points, and let me subscribe to that. And yeah, like I think that like this is really like interesting, because he talks about the pacing and he talks about like stuff that I actually talked about during my stream, and but yeah, but overall the conclusion is, wow, classic, why is it popular? Like, you won't believe it, it's just because it is that good. For video game critics and people similar to that, it is like, this is a nightmare, because like video game critics and stuff like that, basically they have to sell you the game and tell you why it's good, and and here you have like fucking like classic WoW being like, yeah, so about classic WoW, why is it good? Because it is. That's the argument. Buy it, play it, enjoy it, right? It is that stupid, but I guess with some argument, classic WoW, it is just that good. Anyway,